The PSBA is committed to diversity, inclusion, and equity work. As an organization founded in Tacoma, Washington, we acknowledge the Puyallup tribe and invite you to visit the official website of the Puyallup and listen to their land acknowledgement statement. The Puyallup people have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step toward true allyship, and we commit to offering opportunities to uplift the voices, experiences, and histories of the Indigenous people of this land and beyond.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jane, and Suzanne and I are delighted to be here this rainy November day to welcome PSBA member and educator Randi Parkhurst to the last Zoom lunchtime series of this year. You know, we began to plan these and you think, oh, November will never come. And then all of a sudden November's here. And it's a great way to end our year-long conversations with this great, wonderful and vibrant artist. I know many of you have taken classes with Randi, and many of us are enthralled with her beautiful structures, her boxes, her books with hidden drawers and wonderful colors and papers. And we're delighted to have a visit to her studio today, right, Suzanne?
Yes. Randi shares her knowledge via teaching workshops nationwide, and her work can be viewed at Evergreen State College Rare Books Library, the Penland School of Craft, and in numerous private collections, publications, and online. The forms, colors, and textures in nature have been a lifelong inspiration for Randi, and it sounds like she's going to start by showing us from the outside of her studio in. She combines her hand-painted papers, botanical prints, and a knack for building structures to create interactive art forms. Part boxes, part books, part buildings, her work is intricate and precise while remaining accessible to the viewer. Randi's studio is in Olympia, Washington, in an idyllic park-like setting, surrounded by a large garden, lovingly cared for. And when making botanical prints, she need only walk outside her studio door to gather colorful leaves for her compositions. Thank you so much for joining us, Randi. I'm excited to see what you show us.
Great. Well, welcome everybody to a rainy Northwest afternoon, and come on into my studio and we'll check out some color. So I was delighted that PSBA asked me to do an artist talk, and so thank you, PSBA. And our subject today is color, which all of us artists are just so excited about. I love to use color in my work, of course. I use colors from nature mostly, and you can see here some of my handmade papers. These papers are painted, and it's just the kind of paper that you would buy to mask off your windows when you're painting your house. And so I tear off a piece and I wrinkle it up. One side I paint black, and see the color comes through the other side. And then I've layered 3 to 4 colors on each one. So I've got a full range of colors. And the other way I like to use color is with eco prints, and these are a few of those. The textures you see in the background are from different fabrics. This was a terry cloth towel. This is burlap. So, and then I also make little cards with these too, little note cards. So I wanted to show you some of the things that I make with eco prints and my painted papers. There's an eco print that has been framed, and I use a cradle panel frame for these. This is an example of a collage, and you can see the eco prints here and here, and my painted papers right here. Sometimes I use the eco prints to cover boxes. And I've got some hand painted paper on the inside of the box. And I also love to use eco prints for book covers. It's just so beautiful, and to use the different pages with the eco prints, delightful. And these are all hand sewn, and I make a little paper bead for the pull to pull it out of the box. This is a little house that I made. It's got eco prints on the outside and my papers that I painted as an accent. And so when I think about color in my work, I'm thinking about natural colors, but really I'm thinking about at what combination I can use the eco prints and the painted papers together. There's a little box in this house, or a little book, I should say, and it's a triangle shape. And it has a magnet in the cover, so it stays open. And these are really fun too. These I call rainbow boxes for obvious reason with the different colors. But it's really fun to have a surprise inside of different colors. And on the bottom, I have these really tiny little feet. So the outside, you can see all the individual leaves. And these natural colors are just so wonderful. And you can see I attached the driftwood with a little bit of braided waxed linen thread. So some of you have already seen Tansu Gothic. Tansu Gothic is made with mat board and my hand painted papers. And it's the story of a fire in Japan in the 1600s, and it killed a lot of people. And so this is my homage to the people. And it tells the story inside with books and all kinds of things. And my very first project, that was my biggest project when I was first starting to do book arts, was this. And this book's name is Patience. And it's over 40 books that come out from these little putty holes. And then when I want to put everything back in, these all fit together like this. Like that. So believe it or not, all those books fit into this one tiny space. And I have one more thing to show you. One of my latest pieces is about eco-printing. And I enlisted the help of 7 of my friends and my mom. And I went to each person's garden and I made eco-prints in their garden. And the way I paid them back was I said, you know, you can pick out a print that you would like and you can keep it for letting me use all of their garden. So this symbolizes houses in a neighborhood. And you can see the eco prints. And this is hand painted paper here. And you notice how that orangey red goes really well with these natural colors. And it has same on the back. This. And then this little sweetheart folds up and fits right in there. And it has a little roof on it like this. And then within this picket fence area, we've got 3 books. This one is about the tour that I did with all of my eco prints and my friends. So that tells the story of that. And then this book is called The Process, and it's about the process of eco printing. And then the last little book in here is called The Plants. And these are various types of plants that I've used in eco printing. And then I wanted to show you, I've also been making things with dyes. I've been using natural elements like bark and leaves and flowers and roots and bark. And I've been making my own inks and putting them in these little jars. This one is all yellow onion skin. This pink one is made with avocado skins and pits. Just beautiful. And I thought I would give you a really quick demo of my inks. This is one I made from wildflowers. I can get it open. Maybe I'll open this one instead. Okay. There we go. Yay. Okay. So I got my ink in my little jar here. This one is a very light colored brownish. Basically just take your plant material, put it into water and boil it for a few hours until it reduces down to a very thick and rich color. And for ink, you add a little bit of gum arabic, and that's what keeps it in a form that's easy to use in a pen. So anyway, that's my latest fun thing, is to figure out how to make inks and dyes. And so it's that. And then my latest really big turn on is gel printing. Lots of people have been doing it. I hope all of you have tried it because it's very fun. These are some examples of prints that I've made that I like, that I will probably frame. I'm not sure yet, but I like them very much. And sometimes my gel prints aren't successful, in meaning that I don't want to frame them. But I have recently been taking some of my less successful ones and cutting them up. This one here, I'll show you. Let me see that, Jeff. Cut that out, and then when I cut this one, I'm going to have this really cool shape. And I just think these separate elements are so beautiful. And I'm going to be using these in collage and probably on boxes and things like that. Or that I've cut up that I'm going to, or that I have arranged into colors. And I thought I'd show you some of these are gel prints that I just cut up. And it leaves these amazing shapes. This was a string that I had put on the gel plate and made a big print out of, and it didn't look very good. But when I cut it out, I just loved that organic sort of bug-like shape. So all of these that you see here were once eco prints. They have now been chopped up and made into collage fodder. And additional things with these two. And I wanted to show you some of my fun texture things that I've used. This is from packaging, and it's just, you know, cardboard, but this makes a fabulous pattern. And then I've made my own collagraphs. So these are used to make impressions. These are just the reinforcements for the holes in paper that you can buy. I just put some on a board. This is just triangles that I cut out of paper. And this is pieces of mat board that I cut out. And these all make shapes and textures like this. So I wanted you to go ahead and take a look at my walls. I've got a lot of inspiration up there. These two pieces here are by my mentor. You can find him on YouTube, Art Whisperer 88. And those are two of his pieces. You can see the influence from him in my work.
And what's his name?
His name is Fulton Sim. And up here I have pieces that I found inspirational. These are roll-off sheets from when I'm working. This was a fun collage I did last week, and you can see I cut up pieces of my gel prints in here. That's what all of these pieces are from. And then I love colored pencil. And this is one I did. Some geraniums.
Randy, there are a couple of questions in the
Yes.
chat that might be easier to answer right now while you're
Okay.
there. Okay, there's a request to have you tell us about the floating woman sculpture.
Okay, yes. This floating woman or flying woman is made by Kathy Gore-Fuss, and she looks over me while I'm working, gives me some good suggestions, and she's just fantastic, just a magical little being that I love having in my studio.
Fabulous. The next question is, your colored media storage is intriguing. Can you show it off?
Are you talking about this?
MJ, can you tell us? Maybe,
Yes.
yes, okay,
Yeah.
so that's it.
Yeah, this is a pen storage. This is the product. It's called the Ultimate Pen Storage, and you can get it on Amazon. And I've just bought, you know, many of them because I have so many colored pencils and pens.
It was a question about paint. So
Oh, and you have a question about paint?
What kind of paint do you use on the brown paper?
On the brown paper, I use acrylic paints, and really acrylic is about the only paint that I use. What Jeff's showing you right now, those are my liquid acrylics. And I have some more over here that are, that's the cheap brand. And then the golden is the more expensive brand. And then I have many, many inexpensive student grade paints down here.
Okay. And then there was a question about when, I think it was in the rainbow box.
Yes.
Denise was asking, how do you make those wonderful feet?
Okay. I make them with these. And what that is it's, whoopsie. Okay. These are all circles that are folded in half and stacked upon each other. Do you see that?
It's hard with. Okay.
And then when you unfold it, it looks like a little ball. And then I've cut them in half, and that's how I make the feet.
Oh,
Pretty
fabulous.
fun, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question about the brown paper is,
Yeah.
are you concerned that it's possibly acidic? Do you
It
know?
is. It's not acid free.
Mhm.
And my personal feeling is that if you are a book restorer or somebody who is, restoring people's family Bibles, I think absolutely 100% you should use acid-free paper. But for me, I've got maybe 20 summers left on this planet. I'm not going to limit myself with my materials, and I just use whatever I want to use. So, and all of my papers have 3-4 coats of acrylic paint on them, so I think they're pretty sturdy. And you saw Tansu Gothic, and Tansu Gothic is more signs of the paper breaking down. So that's just my personal opinion. Well, I thought I would show
There.
you a way that I recycle things. I had a wallet that was this really nice leather, and it was purple, and I loved it, but eventually it wore out. So I kept the clip on it, and I took all of the guts out, everything out, and then I sewed some signatures into it, long stitch. And you can see here the different signatures. So that's one way of reusing something, and it's something that fits in my purse. I can bring it anywhere with me, so I love that. I also have some little toy light things that I've made. This is I guess you would call it a toy, and it looks like it's in a box, all just wrapped up. It's magnetized and flips open like that, and it also comes off. And you can see here, this was a watercolor that I had, and I took a very fine black pen and drew around all of the different shapes that I could find. And then this is made out of watercolor paper, and it's got a magnet to hold it shut. And it's really pretty. It's got all these beautiful colors in it. That. And this is a fun one too. This is a book that is on a little open shelf kind of thing, and it can be set like this, can be set like that, set like this, many different ways. But here you can see the sewing that I did and the little bead that I made out of paper.
The question about how you cut out the circles.
Oh, the circles I use a hole punch, so just a regular shape punch that you get at the craft store. And let's see what else. Oh, there's another way to use these too. I use this as a knob for opening up this box, but it can also be used as a funny little hinge too. And this is more of that paper that was the watercolor, and then I went in with the pen and drew around all the little shapes. Are there any more questions?
Alicia Bailey said, I love how the use of rubber stamps for text limits the word count in your project with the houses. Very pithy.
This is another little house that I did, and it's a class that I teach, and it has a really beautiful large book inside. But it's also in a tray, so you've got a box and you've got a book. And check out this sewing here. It's fun to see how many tapes you can use with this sewing. This is fun.
I have a question from Linda Lee.
Yes.
That the boxes seem to be quite sturdy.
Yes.
Is it bookboard or possibly what? Wood?
I use for my boxes and for my book covers, I use mat board. And for something like this, I used 4 thicknesses of mat board to make those walls. So I can make whatever I have as strong as I want it with as thick a walls as I want it. And then this cover is also made with mat board, and that's 3 layers of it. I find mat board much easier to cut from a local framer, so I don't have to have the added expense of book board. Oh, and then I wanted to show you this little house. This is a teaching model, and I'm showing here on the roof how the little shakes are made on the roof. And then it has a privacy window, and that's made with wrinkled wax paper. And back here is a little barn door, and it slides open and back. And this is a window that is fully operable. Open it up, close it. And then this is a little hinge that I made and a little door for that.
What sort of glue?
I use PVA glue.
What is the hinge made out of?
Paper and a little skewer. So I wrapped paper around a skewer, and it's hard to explain how it's on there.
Yeah.
I think maybe we might be able to see it better here. I have one on Tansu Gothic too. You can see how this one's much bigger, and you can see it here.
Wow.
And then leaving a little tail on the paper roll so that you can put it between 2 layers of mat board, and that's what holds it to the wall. And I have this is a fun colored pen. So I did a rust print, and I used pins and washers. And so you got like 4 or 5 colors. You can really see up here the little lines that go out. It's a very sharp pencil, and you have to take your time, but it's worth it.
There might be another question.
Okay. The rust painting is, you just take metal that's rustable, so you don't want stainless steel, and you lay it on paper off the pieces, and then you're left with an image. And you can see on the other side of this a little bit. That's the rusty stuff coming through the other side. And this piece here is a box art that I did in, I think, the late 1980s. And I had a bunch of beads that I put all the way around. This is my secret lock number for my bike when I was little. And all of these things are special things from people that I love. Okay, any more questions?
Randy, this is Jane, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm thinking about your very first book project. And
Yeah.
that sort of, I hate to use the phrase, blew me away, but how could that be a first book project? It was so complicated and well constructed. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came to be about and when you made that? It's really
Yeah,
quite remarkable.
I took a class at the Aeromont School of Craft and Art in Tennessee from a man named Dolph Smith. And he taught us how to make books. And I was very inspired by him. And he's also a very creator. So box around it. And then I slid that into the box for a book. And I just thought about it and I just drew this spiral sort of, it's based on the golden mean. And that's how it started. And when I look at this now, I kind of smirk because it's done with only one layer of mat board. And if I was to ever make something like that again, I would have made it much sturdier. But, you know, I was just learning. So, yeah,
It's
this was a
remarkable.
project that I could use up all the papers that I had. Yeah, it has some really cool sculptural elements to it. The smallest book in there is a 1/2-inch square. So it gets pretty tiny. In fact, I could probably. So fun to play with. Find the smallest book in here. It is in here. So you think this is the smallest book, right? I mean, that's pretty tiny, but it's got a little box and there's a 1/2-inch little book in here.
Pretty impressive.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It took a long time to make. I would think the thing that took the most time was Tansu Gothic because it took me a month to draw it. And then I made a model of it first before I started because I knew that if I started it and got halfway through and I had mismeasured something that I would be very upset. So I made sure and did a model first with just scrap paper. And
How much in terms of materials?
oh yeah, and then it took me 3 months to build the model, and it took me a year to build Tansu Gothic. And it's got over 300 pieces of handmade paper hardware on it that I made out of black paper, and then I sanded it and painted it to make it look like iron. And these are real metal brads from a craft store that I used. So that was a real labor of love. That one took a really long time. And one thing that's really fun about this is that there's a miniature inside of the one.
There's a whole lot more to go that you can't see from here.
Yeah. So there's the little lids. What's on there? And all the drawers work on this. They all pull out. And then inside of that is one more teeny tiny one. And all of these little drawers work too. That's that little guy.
And then all the books and stories inside.
Yeah, and then inside Tansu is the story of this fire that happened in old Japan.
There's a video of this.
Yeah, and there's also a Vimeo video of this piece too. But I wanted to show you these two books because they tell the story of the fire. And this book has been made to look a lot like Tansu Gothic. It's got the red and the black, and then I made the hardware for each book. And this is all told in collage. So the buildings are made of straw and wood and paper, so they were really flammable. Somebody knocked over a lantern and a lot of people died, and it was very, very sad. In Japan, white flowers are the symbol of sympathy. And so I use those to show the different people that died. And then this is part 2. And I drew different types of tonsuit cabinetry. So hand-done drawings and more of collage to tell the story.
No, Tina's in the chat.
Is she?
Yeah, I think, Randy, everybody's a bit amazed. I mean, you're an engineer, an architect, a mathematician, a creative thinker. It's really, hard to get one's mind around how you create and design all these things. And one thing I'm really interested in is, how do you save the documentation for your work? I think a lot of artists are struggling with their own personal archives and keeping track of your projects. Do you have a particular way of doing that or advice for others because your work is so prolific?
I always keep all my drawings, and I have to draw these things out because you're mentioning math and measurements and being precise. And so I use grid notebooks to do my drawings because they're squared and I can make measurements really easy with those. Yeah, and I also have had films made of Tansu Gothic and of Patience. And I had a really good film crew do that because it's made a world of difference. All I have to do is show a video of Tansu Gothic and I can get a job just about anywhere, right? So if you've got a really good package for presenting what you've got, I think that's just as important as having good work. I also have photographs. I photograph everything that I do. So yeah, I think drawings, video if you can, and photographs are the way to go.
And I'm intrigued by that beautiful drawing that you showed of the geranium, and I'm wondering how much of your work now is that type of drawing, how you're inspired by botanical drawing to move into eco printing, and maybe talk a little bit about your drawings.
Yeah, for drawing, I really love colored pencil because it's just so soft and sweet and so textured. And I don't know if the camera can pick up the detail on this, but it looks like I've pixelated it like with little dots, but it's actually that the pencil is so sharp that it fills in every divot of the paper. And so now I'm working on this still. I don't have it finished in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm still working on it. And this has been one of those things that I've been doing for years. And it's just kind of a project I just keep going back to. It's very meditative and familiar. Does that answer?
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And I keep up on drawing. I go out and I do plein air drawing with my friends outside. I take drawing classes. This is a piece I did that is, this is colored pencil and it's a rusty hinge. So I like to get, crazy with detail, but yeah, it's good to take a break from it too.
speaking of projects, how many projects do you have on the go at once? I mean, do you pick one up and then move to another, depending on
Yeah,
how it's going? And
I like to have a couple things going at once because if I get bored with one, I can just, continue on with the other. And another way I like to work, another reason I like to work like that is because that you can see over time, like if you stop working on something and you're working on something else, and then you go and you look back at that other thing you were looking at, and then you go, oh, that's what I need. I need blue right there, or I need to take out that tree, or whatever it is. So. Yeah.
I think the contrast of the very detailed drawings and the much freer things is really, really marvelous to see, Randy. And I'm curious, do you, is there a time when you really feel driven to do one more than the other? Does one, there's certain kind of work that I do that kind of centers me. And so I do that work when it feels like everything is kind of crazy to pull myself together. But how do you decide what you're going to work on with such huge range of options?
Well, for example, right now I'm pretty much focused on gel prints and what I'm going to be able to do with all of these beautiful shapes and things that I've cut out.
Mm-hmm.
So right now my mind is thinking about, okay, how can I make something like this in a tunnel book or something three-dimensional? Because I like to make a thing much more than I like to make 2D. So I'm trying to figure that out
Mm-hmm.
and just in the first stages of that. But one thing I do when things aren't going well in the world or in my art or whatever, I come into the studio and I paint papers because these are they're so easy to make and it doesn't really matter what I do. I'm always going to need another yellow if I make yellow. I'm always going to need another green if I make a green one. So yeah. And that to me that's what I do when I just don't feel creative or I feel stuck or mad at the world or whatever. That's my go-to. But as
And
far
how,
as go ahead.
sorry, I interrupted you when you were starting another phrase. I
Okay.
was curious,
What were you gonna say?
do you have a particular schedule? Do you work every day or,
Yeah, I usually come around 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Sometimes as early as 8:30 or as late as noon, but I would say 10 o'clock is when I usually get here. And depending on how enthusiastic I am about what I'm working on, and I'm very enthusiastic about these gel print cutouts. So I've been here 4 or 5 hours a day. And sometimes I only come for a couple hours. And sometimes if I'm not feeling creative, I just come anyway and just come in, look around, touch a few things. Maybe I won't feel creative, maybe I'll leave. But I always try to come pretty much every day and at least touch my studio.
yeah, oh, good.
Randy, there are a couple of questions about the type of paper that you're using for the gel printing. And is that your painted papers or print paper?
Um, no, I am printing on regular printmaking paper. Sometimes I use mixed media paper. I don't use copier paper because it just falls apart. And I'm doing many layers at once, and I need a strong paper to pull all that paint off. So I'm using pretty good paper. A really good option for people if you're making prints is a brand called Richardson, and they make you can get 100 sheets and they come out to about $1 a piece and they're the full size 20 by 30 sheets. That's a good strong paper and I've been using that quite a bit, but you can use watercolor paper, something strong. Rice paper is good, deli paper, medical exam paper. They're all strong enough for that.
Great. We have so many comments about your presentation in the chat, and people are just thrilled with the
Oh,
presentation, the visit to the studio, the breadth of your work. So we'll make sure to get those comments to you. I might ask a question to put you on the spot, but when you think back on your career and maybe starting your artistic creativity, do you have particular artists that inspired you along the way? I know you mentioned a few mentors, but from your study and research, are there particular artists that you draw strength from or inspiration?
I like Hieronymus Bosch, or I'm not sure, Bausch, however you pronounce his name. I really love his fanciful creatures and his very sort of fuzzy textural way that he draws them. I love those. I also like Paul Klee very much. Um, and I also like Rothko, which I didn't know I would, but a friend of mine showed me some of his work. And then my husband and I went to Washington, D.C., and we went to the Smithsonian Art Museum and saw some of his work there. So that was really great. So, yeah. Rothko has the graphic boldness. Klee has sort of this soft, lovely romanticness to him. And Hieronymus Bosch is just sort of playful and goofy and a little dark. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And I know folks are interested in, where is your work currently showing now, is it? And will you be displaying your work in the near future at any of the fairs or activities?
Every year, Olympia has a South Sound studio tour, and I've been on the board of that, one of the sort of founding members of that, and we'll be doing that again this year. My work is also at Childhood's Inn Gallery, which is in downtown Olympia. He helps me a lot, and I have to say, it sounds corny, but when you have someone in your life who is your partner, who is also a creative and understands that you need that time alone, and he supports me in everything. He comes to all my shows. He helps me with any video art talks that I do, any of that stuff. So, it takes a village.
That's wonderful.
Hi, Malpina.
Jeff saying hi to Malpina.
We have just a few more minutes. Suzanne, do you have any parting comments that you'd like to share for Randi? Or
I was curious, the complexity of the Japanese fire tribute is so extraordinary. Have you done other things that are that complex, Randi? And how did you come upon that story?
I think a lot of the work I do is that complex, but that one was a long time, a year of doing a very complex piece. So
Yeah.
I would say that one gets the award for the most technical. And what was the other part? I forgot the last part that you asked.
Where did you find the story?
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew that I wanted to make some sort of Tansu cabinetry with paper. I've always loved it. You may have seen it, there's these desks that have hidden doors and drawers and compartments and all that. And I loved all that. And the one Tansu cabinet that really stuck out to me is that stair step shape. And because you can put storage underneath. And my husband and I, we live in a tiny house on wheels. We've been living in it for 7 years, and I designed it. And I designed a staircase in it that is just like that has the storage in it. So anyway, I knew I wanted to make a Tansu cabinet of some kind, and I knew I wanted to make probably a stair step one. So I went online and I looked for a book, and it's called Tansu, and it was about the history of Tansu, about the tools, about the different types of Tansu. It's an excellent book. And I thought, well, I'll do a little more digging around. I got on the internet and I looked, and boop, up pops a story about the Meireki fire in 1652. And it was just kismet, because I did not know what the story was going to be for this piece. I was building the structure, but I didn't know what the story was going to be. And then it just fell into my lap, and it was just the perfect way to tell the story.
So did you say you live in a tiny house that you designed? How long
Yeah.
ago was that?
7 years ago, we moved in.
And how was that in timing relative to building the Japanese house?
That I built probably 10 or 15 years ago. So it's been a
Oh,
while. Yeah.
yeah.
But I've always loved small spaces, and it was a real joy to design that house. And yeah, so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
great. Randy, thank you so much. I mean, what a great way to end the
Oh.
year, because there's so many ideas circulating in so many different formats, and your creativity is really inspiring. And thank you for giving us a tour of the studio. It's remarkable.
Yes, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And just to say to everyone that this is the last Zoom that Lori and I will be working on. We are taking a break from our Zoom lunchtime duties and handing the reins over to Suzanne Moore and Janet Reynolds. And our Zoom lunchtime conversations will resume again in March. And it's going to be really exciting to see new artists brought into the fold. And I want to thank Lori so much. She is the world's best Zoom manager, and it's really been delightful to work with her and with all the artists that have been participating. And thank you all for your interest in this program. And also to say, for PSBA members, mark your calendar for February 15th, which is a Sunday. It doesn't conflict with Super Bowl. It's our annual meeting online. But we have Yuka Petz as our annual meeting speaker, and she will be coming right from the Codex conference to share perspectives on that experience as well as her own work. So we're very excited about that. And I wish you all a great end of the year and a happy holiday, and thank you so much.
And thank you, Jane and Laurel, for birthing this idea and making it such a rich way to stay connected, get inspired with new ideas, and meet people in their own spaces on a whole array of subjects. And the fact that they're recorded and available for everyone to see is really extraordinary. It's a wonderful gift that you have facilitated.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you all, and we'll see you next year.